My name is Brittany, and I am a producer and I believe also a production manager. Am I a production manager? I am responsible for a lot of the stuff that happens before we film and in between the shoot days. Making sure that we have all of the costumes on the days that we need them, that we have all of the props, making sure that the cast and crew are fed, that they have snacks, that they have whatever else they need. I also have been working on a couple of the locations to make sure we have locations and that the locations look the way we want them to look. The first step, once you have a finished script, is to go through and do a script breakdown. So I go through and I look for, okay, every instance that a prop is mentioned. Same with costumes. What are the different locations? Do we need specific extras in certain scenes? Do the extras need to be in certain costumes? There's also a lot of reading between the lines. Like, you have a scene where a character unlocks a door. Well, that means that they have keys. Are those keys important? Do they need to look a particular way? That's a big piece of what I do. And then the other half of it is just okay, we have this many people on this day. Do we have any particular food allergies? What are we going to feed everyone? How much food do we need to buy? It's a lot of list making and keeping all that organized. We didn't have a lot of pre-production time for this film. We went from having a finished script to having a first shoot day very quickly. It's been a lot of breaking it down as we go. Like, okay, this is the next thing we're shooting. We need to go through and make sure we have everything before Saturday. I enjoy the planning process, and so for me, it's a lot more fun to have the time to think through it and plan it and work through the details in advance. As far as pre-production goes, Luke's been very used to doing films on his own. And he has the sort of run and gun mentality of, I'm just going to take my camera and whoever's available and we're going to go shoot a thing, which is great. But we've also been kind of growing in the difficulty and scale of projects that we want to do. We didn't scale up our pre-production time accordingly. And we didn't scale up our expectations for shoot days accordingly either. This one, for example, has characters who have significantly complicated costumes. You have horns, you have wigs, you have tails, and so anytime there's a costume change, all of those things have to come off before the actors can even get around to changing like the clothes that they're wearing. We've had a lot of experience doing cosplay. If we'd sat down and thought about it, it would have been easy for us to say, well, yeah, you have 3 people that are essentially in cosplay, and it's going to take them a couple hours every morning to get into costume for this, and to get the makeup on and the wigs, and to make sure everything's right. But we never had that time to kind of sit down and think through the logistics of the costumes and the difficulty that would add, because we were just trying to get the costumes so that we'd have them for shoot day, and that caused a lot of stress on the first day of shooting when it took the actors 2.5 hours doing the makeup and getting everything ready, which it shouldn't have been stressful because we should have expected it, but we didn't have the time to think about that. I think the biggest win has been having more people involved. That's also been a little bit more stressful just because of the time crunch. One of the things that got lost in the crunch was communicating with everybody on the team. It hasn't been clear in all cases who had what role and who had what responsibility. When Luke was the one who was kind of filling the role of producer, writer, director, like everything, since he was the only one involved, he could just make a decision on the fly and go with it based on who was around. But pre-production and sort of doing that planning, that's not something that he loves. He ended up with that set of responsibilities without having the tools to really execute them well. Luke is not a planner. He can plan, but it's not his strength. He doesn't make lists. He doesn't like lists. He feels trapped by lists. If you're someone who hates making lists, you might want to find someone who will balance you in your weaknesses, because that lets you work out of your strengths. I like working on projects like this, and I like collaborating with people on projects. It's really fun to be a part of the team that's working on some of the more technical costume pieces with this, like the horns, because I just love that. It's a super fun challenge, and that's what I like about it. It's a challenge, and it's something different every time, and that's really fun too. This is where it's going to be a dead giveaway that I'm a logistics person, because my first thought was, we bought a table. It's given us a space to set up snacks and stash things underneath. I might get a second table for the next shoot because tables are really handy. We also got a bunch of crates. They're collapsible. I'll just go through and pack everything that we're going to need for the next shoot day in the crates the night before. We can just load them all up in my car and drive them to the set. I like having the right tools for the job, and I like it when my people have the right tools for the job because it makes them that much more efficient at actually getting the job done. And there were a few things that, rather than spending the time trying to hunt them down or borrow them from friends, I decided we're in a time crunch, we're just going to buy it. So there have actually been quite a few props that we purchased for this. All of the cups and glasses and like food baskets that you see on the tables, those were all purchased. We had menus printed. The waitress carried her apron and her tray and her pitcher. The ice that you see in her pitcher is fake ice. I got a bunch of garment bags so that we could keep the costumes organized. I bought a electric kettle so we can make coffee on set because I already had a French press. So just lots of things like that to try and make it smoother in the details. Food budget? Oh, there's no budget. There's just food. Similar with having the right tools for the job, I like to make sure that my people are taken care of. So we've had snacks available, and anytime that we were shooting over a meal time, we've had a meal because food's important. You know, if your people don't have food, they're going to be really grumpy, and grumpy people don't work well.